guys, Geekonomics here, Year 11. This is your feedback session for the paper which I've just given you today, Thursday 21st of September. So that is A591 June 2010. You need to collect those papers from me, the remaining one or two of you who have not, and use this video obviously to complete your DIT in your own leisure time. Now, for your information, rather than me going through all of the questions on this occasion, I'm going to give you the textbook references in the first instance. So this particular question covered quite a lot of Unit 1. So it covered pages 12 through to 14, then page 35, and then also page 37. Now, I've already spoken to the people in question with regard to the next point, which is about revision cards. So let me show you, ladies and gentlemen, this folder. This is an A-level folder brought in by one of the Year 14 legends who are just about to start their university careers studying economics at university. And so in here, ladies and gentlemen, we have a whole stash, look at that, a whole pack, whole bundle of revision cards. Now, those of you in Year 11, I'm recommending to you, I'm commending to you that you start to produce something similar for your own GCSE revision. And indeed, I'm going to start this now on a rolling programme every week. So just to give you a little idea and to give you a little flavour, this is obviously Year 2 A-level economics, but here we have, this is a whole section here all tagged together nicely for labour market theory. And the particular person and persons involved who engaged in this sort of revision performed outstandingly well in the exams. So I commend that to you, ladies and gentlemen. Those of you who I've spoken to about that, you know what you need to do, and the rest of you, be ready for that coming down the pipeline very shortly. So let's get on to the answers, ladies and gentlemen, the DIT part of this particular question. First thing to say on this one is, some of you are talking about competitive markets, and you referenced the internet and how that has increased competition, not just nationally, not just locally, but globally. And I agree with you 100%. And so I just wanted to fire in a little term there, and we'll come across this when we come to study the euro and the single currency, but the whole notion of price transparency. So price transparency means that you can obviously now you can go online and you can go to these price comparison websites and you can type in whatever it is you're searching for and it'll bring you up a whole list, and you can then very quickly and easily see where the cheapest price is. And so that is very much to our benefit as consumers, but from the firm's point of view, obviously the onus is on them then to put out there their very best price. And so the internet therefore encourages and incentivizes that type of competition when things are priced online. And indeed, when I launch my new website, ladies and gentlemen, in 9 days' time, the various prices which I'll be quoting on there will be the very best value for money, obviously. So that's the first point, ladies and gents. Next point. 1B1 said something along the lines of, explain what's meant by the secondary sector using an example. Now, some of you did not read the question, and so you explained what it meant, but you did not give an example. You cannot afford to give away the early marks on the paper. The early marks are for the people who are probably not going to score very many marks in the whole paper, and that will not include any of you, so therefore you need to be just grabbing all those early marks, easy peasy, and hoovering them up. So read the question. I'm not going to go through all the paper, so I'm going to jump straight to D here. You have all of the references in the textbook to correct what you will need for the question 1A, question 1C. So question 1C, two questions worth 3 marks each. Refer to these pages in your textbook and you'll be able to get the answers. Okay, 1D. Let's talk about diagram or diagrams. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, let me remind you, a diagram is no good to the examiner unless it is explained. Too many of you just put your diagram in and you're leaving it to me to interpret it on your behalf. That's not how it works. You have got to tell me, or in the summer, the person who's marking it, what your diagram means and why it is of relevance to the question. So that's your job, ladies and gents, not mine. Labels on diagrams: costs, output, long run average cost. Some of you were sort of not labelling this part correctly. Your economies of scale, falling costs, and then obviously your diseconomies of scale, your increasing costs. This, ladies and gentlemen, as you know, is the LRAC, the long run average cost curve, sometimes referred to as the envelope curve, because if you put a little rectangle around that, that's like your envelope. You send birthday cards to, like I did yesterday to my little niece, 2 years old. So that's that. Next one. You could possibly draw this diagram with regard to competition, increasing quantity supplied in the market. You could be talking about lower costs, so the supply curve shifting downwards for an individual firm, etc. However, again, some of you, you're getting lazy on your explanations about how we get from A to B. So you would need to be explaining things like a reduction in the cost of production causes the supply curve to shift from the right. Equilibrium moves from point A to point B. As a consequence, there is an expansion, ladies and gentlemen, remember, an expansion of demand as we move along the demand curve. Quantity demanded and quantity supplied rise to Q2, price falls to P2. We need a comprehensive and full explanation. Okay, and then lastly, I just want to address 3 areas which have been quite often on this particular paper, 3 terms, 3 sets of terms, which are getting confused and mixed up. So, revenue and profit. Revenue, ladies and gentlemen, is not the same as profit. As you know, total revenue is equal to the number of goods I sell times the price at which I sell them. 10 Mars bars for 10 pence each, my revenue, £1. Now that is not the same as profit. Profit is total revenue minus total cost. So if my revenue from selling my Mars bars was £1, but my costs of buying those Mars bars was only 50 pence, then my profit is 50 pence. So too many of you are often confusing that. Next, productivity is not the same as production. Production is how much output are you making? So 3,000 widgets a day. Nissan in Sunderland, 400,000 cars a year approximately. So that's their total production. But productivity is output per worker. How many cars is one worker making per day, for example? So if I make 5 cars a day and you make 4 cars a day, then I'm more productive than you. So that's our productivity. So don't be confusing the two. So you couldn't say, for example, necessarily firms which are increasing in size, taking over other firms, you couldn't say they're increasing productivity, unless you quote something to do with technology and firms becoming more efficient. But you could say that when one firm takes over another, its output will obviously increase. So it will increase its production. And then a final point, which is a strange point, which a few people were mentioning, and they were stating that if you hire more workers, your revenue falls. Well, the revenue is the money that you bring in from selling goods. So why would you lose customers just because you start hiring more workers? Think on that one, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't quite tally. That's it. Bye for now. I'm being interrupted, ladies and gentlemen, by Jordan Guthrie, year 13. How can we help, Jordan?